welcome to another awesome FileMaker morning, Monday morning, Monday afternoon, I guess. Depends on where you are at. For some of you might already be Tuesday. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of FMTrain.tv, where every business day, Monday through Friday, we are doing great FileMaker training on a wide variety of topics. Some topics are beginner, some topics are advanced, some topics are intermediate. What we've done is we're going to be going back and handling a handful of basic, kind of more beginnerish kind of FileMaker topics because people are asking me about that. And what they're asking me is, hey, Richard, since you made this free FM starting point, why don't you make some more free for us by building more additional features into FM starting point? Because what I'm really looking for is FM completely done. And I'm like, man, that was such a great idea. I don't know why I didn't create FM completely done. You know why? You know why, everyone in the internet? Hello? Everyone in there? Hello? You know why we don't do FM completely done? Because your business needs are different than everyone else's business needs, right? So, for example, Larry is one of our Marines, and he is building a solution, but it's for minor league professional baseball in North America, right? And so his needs are totally different than Scott Kane's or Brian Ginn's requirements, or Peter Gein's, or Jericho, or Gudidi, or all you folks. Hi, Michelle from Montreal. So today is kind of more of a basic day. And what we're going to do is we're going to have some fun with one of our FileMaker coaches. This coach is actually pretty seriously involved with kind of the starting point cleanup that's going on. So this everyone's so up to date. So the upcoming broadcast schedule. Today we're going to be covering this idea. People said, hey, how do I get a list of past due notices in FileMaker and have it like be a reproducible script, et cetera, et cetera. And I know all of you here are like, oh, I could do this in 2 seconds. So maybe you're bored, you don't want to hang out for this. That's fine. But I run into 2 or 3 people, including a bunch of business people who don't know how to do this. And they're literally using this one guy who does a maintenance facility for helicopters. And I always pay my bill like right on the spot because I never want my mechanic to be mad at me, right? If you're flying a thing that would prefer to kill you, given its choice to fly correctly or kill you, a helicopter just beats the air into submission, right? So you want your mechanics to be really happy. You want the aircraft to be great. You don't want the mechanics to ever be grumbly that you didn't pay on time. So I pay quick, but he had people that owed him like $10 million. And I'm like, I got FileMaker, I can do that for you. But the problem is he couldn't quite bring himself to get the help that he needed. I'm like, okay, even if I offered him half off coaching, it still was enough of a lure to get this guy to solve his problem. So I guess he's just destined to suffer. So if you've come to this FileMaker channel, you're here with us, you don't want to suffer anymore. Well, I'm Richard Carlton. We're here to help you, and we got all the nice people here. If you've missed the live streams, the way you would do that is you would go to our amazing FileMaker tool. We have an upcoming version of the FileMaker training tool. So you go to this is a free download. So you come over here, go to FMTrain.tv. You have the live upcoming. This is the upcoming broadcast. If you think you missed something that is like really savory and amazing, it's like tasty goodness. I missed that one. That would have been so good. You come down here to the video player. You download the video player for free. You come into the video player. You open it up in FileMaker. Okay, double click. FileMaker opens. We're all in eager anticipation to see what happens. Okay, so here's the video player. It's running a couple quick updates for us. It does, when you first open it, does a pretty serious update. Come over here to courses, and then you can say, show me the live streams, and you can go backwards in time and see where we're at. So we're up through the 20th, which was day 1 of Kyle's, I think it was Thursday last week, right? And so you could watch this as a recording here. So once we're done editing them and cleaning them up, and excessive cussing and swearing have been removed, then what we do is we park them in here, and you can see them. They're also available on YouTube. If you happen to do a search on our channel on YouTube, you could probably find them that way too. But this is a guaranteed way of seeing it. If you're interested in seeing the live, the certification training, I have a different thing for those people. We have a new video player that will allow you to see that. But what we're doing is we're thinking about switching out of the video player and using a website-based technology, but we're still kind of undecided, and we always have a billion videos that we're doing. So it's not like, hey, let's change this, and we've got 5 videos to move. If we decide to change something, it would take us a month or 2 months to move everything, because we're talking 6,000 videos we produce, something like that. Some of the videos not great. Some of you are like, oh, barf, it's horrible, throw up. But it doesn't matter. 6,000 videos have to be dealt with. So there you go. So That's the answer to that question. For those of you wondering about certification training, we're going to update this website. Certification training is over. You can still get it if you don't have it. If you don't have a complete bundle, feel free to purchase our complete bundle by pressing this button right here, get the complete bundle, and then you will have access to recordings. We're going to find out if all our hard work is paid off, because Larry the Marine will be taking the certification test on Friday. We are very excited to find out if he is going to pull it off. Michael's standing over here on hot standby. So what we're going to do is we're going to pivot to Michael here. He's in a tall, skinny, good-looking guy. And he's over there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to go over here to our requirements for the day. So what we are going to do is I'm going to write down the requirements. I don't know if you can you see what I'm doing here, Michael, at all, or not really? You can hear me probably.
Yeah, I can hear you, and I can see the screen as well on Discord.
Okay. Yeah, it's over here right here. So yeah, so what this is all about is so before we give it to Michael to help build, let's talk through the requirements. And if some of you want to chip in here, Wally from Netherlands, if you have a question about this. But so the idea is that we are kind of new to the starting point, or a new starting point, or whatever. We're going to take a copy of starting point light, L-I-T-E, starting point light. And that is the one that's the simplest to understand. It has the least bells and whistles in it, but it still looks like starting point. For today's demo, we're going to be using the 2020 version, not the 2022 version, the new one with the neomorphism, because it's just not quite ready yet. I'm still approving the changes for the light version. So we're just going to start with the basic copy starting point. So what we had, a gentleman the other day said, "Hey, Rich, it'd be really great if you could show me how to, because it's really hard to do this. I want to be able show me a list of past due invoices," and I would say / customers. So that's the first requirement, right? And so, Michael, if someone said that to you, what would you say to them? What would be your response? Like, what other things would you ask them before you start building it?
I would want to see if they're okay doing it in a list view. First off,
Okay.
kind of get an idea of what they were looking for visually.
Okay, I would say, well, as opposed to what, right? But let's just pretend I don't know, right? So I showed you a list. Well, yeah, I said I want to see everyone who's past due. So, yeah, I guess a list would be good. So I'll say, yeah, in a list. What else? What else would you ask them potentially?
I'd want to see if they want maybe a button at the top that would make it easy with a script, so that they could just press a button. They don't have to go through the normal FileMaker processes of doing a find and putting in the information.
So then the question I would ask is, there's a find process in FileMaker that I can use to find this?
Absolutely.
So probably what you would want to do then is probably show manual procedure first with going to a basic list view. Mm-hmm. And then automate, right?
Exactly.
Okay. At what age does an invoice become past due? That's a really good question. So why don't we flip to your screen and talk about how that works in starting point light for the time being, which I'm assuming should be the same as starting point, right?
Yeah, it's pretty similar. So what we have is I'm going to go to the Invoices module. This is our fresh copy of starting point light.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the Invoices module, and here we've got a due date field, and that's where you would mark, when the invoice is due.
Okay, and the status, does this auto adjust over here? How's that? What happened?
The status it does not automatically adjust until I believe once you have the invoice paid. If you were to put a date, I guess it doesn't update there, but
okay. You might want to review that, right? See how that works. But yeah, you could have a trigger there. There should be a trigger there to trigger that. So, because it's canceled. Create a new invoice. Just create a new invoice. Start a new one.
I can go up here and hit new record.
So it automatically picks a date on net 30. Okay, so that's what we call net 30, 30 days out. Okay. So
30 days.
Okay. So then once it's, go ahead and create a line item in there for us for the moment.
Let's add a line here. We'll just add an angular clamp. Okay,
great. All right. So then if you want to finalize it, right, you would want to, we want to send it out or whatever. So when you change the status, I guess it's a manual thing. You would change it. How would you? I mean, I don't use starting point enough because that's a good question. I don't do a lot of coaching anymore. But do you change the status manually, or how does that determine?
We do it manually because if you just have a due date here, and then you change this to active, we actually don't know that that invoice is going to be active. It could just stay preliminary. They may
Yeah.
never decide that they want to move forward with this particular invoice, and so we don't want to have a bunch of active invoices that they're actually not active. We want to keep them as preliminary, or potentially they might get voided
This is
out
a classic area where people would customize this. So we're going to probably have time today to do a little more customization on this. So probably what we would want to do, can you go to layout mode and establish that due date? Figure out what due date is. If it's an auto enter, how does that work? Let's take a look at how the calculation on that works. We're already kind of off in the weeds, but I think this is relevant. So due date. So we always do the word date first, and then so it's an auto enter calculation. Okay, and let's take a look at that.
So we'll look at this specified value, and we'll see that it's got some automatic if statements for net 70, net 10, 15. Like you saw when we originally made the invoice.
Okay. So this is a test question off the certification test for those you wondering about this. What will cause this to re-trigger, right? Michael, how would you articulate? What will cause this to re-trigger?
This is going to get re-triggered when you change the net version here.
The terms.
So
the terms. Right?
Yes, the terms, exactly. So if we were to just say OK here, go back, say OK, and then go back into browse mode here, and we find our net 30. If this changes, you can see that the date
so let's make our first change of this. So I don't want it to do that unless the status is also active. So let's make that as a first design change. So you need to change your auto enter calculation.
So we're going to go back into the date.
And just before we're too far deep, can you just check terms and make sure terms is just like a text? It was remember the calculation said term. I'd like to see what kind of field that is.
Term.
Yeah, it's just going to auto enter. That's fine. Okay, that's great. So go back to the due date, and let's make sure that logically, it shouldn't show us a due date until it's an active invoice. It's in play, right? So what you want to do is take that whole thing. You could do it one of two different ways. You could nest the if, which is probably what I would do, or you could put if it's this and inside and also the status is. But why don't you just take all this, copy it in the memory, delete it is what I would do for the moment, right? And then say if, right, do a search for if the status, right? So if statement, status equals, right? So if it's active, else it does, it should leave its previous value. So what was the previous, so you'd want to put the previous value would be just due date, right? I guess, right? So yeah, try it. So let's test that out. So hit OK. Hit OK. Hit OK. Let's start with a new record. So new record, nothing happens. Great. Change the terms a couple different times. No, term. Oh, no.
Terms. Sorry.
Oh no. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so then is it? That's active. So then it should update, right? Click out, and it's not updating. What did we get wrong?
It's not updating.
Is that field called status? What's the name of that field right there?
This field is status here.
And it's active.
This is terms.
I think he has a plus instead of an equal sign, the auto enter calc. All right, so let's go back to your calculation. I think you wrote.
That was a plus sign.
Dude, what are you doing? I didn't even know that would compile. That's the biggest pile of code I've ever seen. All right, try that again. So start with a new record. New record, please.
So we'll go new record.
Okay, so nothing. Change the terms. Just make sure.
Changing the terms. Net 10.
There we go. Yep, okay. That makes more sense. Now it's going to be an active invoice.
Yeah. Look at that.
By the way, can you make a note and add that to the master for us, please?
Yeah.
That seems to me like it seems like a logical thing that should be there. So then, now if it's change, that's interesting. Change this to like 11 of 21, like last year, a month or two ago. Let's just play with that a little bit. So this is all the stupid stuff that goes in, right? So you want to look at something. Yeah. So what we have to do is, what we need to do, see it turned red, the conditional formatting fired there. So what you need to do is the question is a status is late, or what does it say here? What does that do? Because in our systems, at least at RCC, we have it automatically calculate the status. Date paid, days to pay, right? So click on status and see what the other statuses are in there. Yeah, so it doesn't, this is one of those areas that could use a little bit more automation in terms of basic kind of functionality. Typo yeah, okay, so that's the same typo. So I'm looking at Peter there. Canberra's got a conversation. But yeah, so basically what ends up happening is that the status has to almost be like if you wanted, you'd have to have an unstored calculation. It'd be the easiest way to handle this for most people. But the status is your kind of manual status, but then it could be late, right? Kind of thing, right? Could be, on. You could have an on, say for example, we wanted to do an on record load check of the calculation, right? You could do an on record load check, right? Yeah. So, right. So you could do, do me a favor, turn on the script debugger and let's just flip records here real quick. Script debugger. Okay. Just flip records and see if anything trips. So this will tell us if we have any on record loads that are already set. There are no on-record loads that are already set. So what we could do, what was the one that said date? Date paid. Oh, the days it took them to pay. Is that what that one was? If you flip back records, there was that one.
Days to pay.
Yeah.
I see.
So what that is they date paid. Okay, we're going to have to check this calculation right here. I'm not even sure what that's supposed to be. That will be a good question. But the short version is that you could update this status manually if you wanted, or you could have a field here that says days late. We need to see what this is. I mean, we're kind of off in the weeds a little bit right here, but this is where, in terms of some of you seeing how this would work, you could have a field over here that we give you the days late, and you could do a search on that, right? That would be one way of handling that, right? What is that doing over there? Days to pay? What is that? If the status is paid, then it basically tells them how long it took them to pay, right, is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it only should do that if the status is paid and not as empty means that this has a value and a date paid, right? So go ahead and cancel that for now. Let's take a look. Let me get this out of the way. Sorry about that. Yeah, so that's what it was paid, right? And that was the date they paid, right? So the other thing is you could put over here, like if create a new invoice and go ahead and change it to active, right? And then if you put just put paid right here, just click on that in there and put did it fire a trigger?
Yeah, we got a trigger happening.
What was the trigger, I wonder?
That was it's a good question, actually.
Okay. All right.
Run that again?
Yeah, do it again. So we can do it active. Click out.
There we go.
Is that okay? Update cash total individual financial calcs. Oh, see this right here? This should not be in the light version.
Mm-hmm.
This should not be in the light version, right? So
make a note.
This is what we do is 1224 in the light version. See, what we don't want to do, I know it makes sense to a lot of you, but we have a lot of totals that are cached and total. Actually, on the invoice, this could be a requirement to have this in here. But a lot of times on the light version, what we do is we make the calculations live. It doesn't ensure it's going to run fast under a lot of records and a lot of load of a lot of people, but it's an educational tool. Having the script trigger right there and run that is going to be confusing to the beginning people. So yeah, probably that shouldn't be there at all, if that makes sense.
Agreed. Right? I made a note.
Okay, great. I would think you'd want the invoice date to be locked and non-changeable. Potentially. Yeah, potentially. I mean, every time I agree on something like that, then you'll have some business who they want to be able to change everything. But I agree. Peter says at some point an invoice should be frozen, right? Yeah, once again. So you both are talking about the same thing. So the idea of having it locked and being frozen. Once again, I think that we do that in the full version, and here it's something that we would not do in the light version because that is it's a training exercise. But this needs to be fleshed out a little bit better here. What we really need to do is that see, and it's two sides of a coin, right? If it's late here, you want to be able to indicate it's late, but do you want a scripted process to come in here and forcibly change this, right? What if you had it active for a reason or something like that, and behind your back it changes it? That might be okay, but you'd have to flush that out with your customer, right? Or your business, whatever business you're helping, right? Some of you are consultants, you help other people. Some of you do this internally, right? It just depends, right? I mean, I've got a very diverse group of people here. Lynn and Austin, are you an in-house person or do you have more than one customer, right? So anyway, so the point of this exercise, you could run a trigger here to, because you could run a trigger here to check to see if it's late, and if so, if it's late, by how much, right? And we could search on that, right? So because right now, if we want to show a list, how would we find a list? We'd have to say we do a search on due date, right? Whether it's relevant today, right?
Yep.
But on screen here, there's no real indicator. There's no real indicator it's late. So let's define a field that shows days late.
Okay.
Days late. So I would take your other days to pay one. I'd use that as a model.
Just pull this guy down, days to pay. Go
Days
to layout.
to pay. Well, yeah, it uses the calculation for the models, what I'm talking about. But yeah, you can use that too.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
So you want me to just put a new field like down below it or
For
something?
now, because you're gonna have to find a space, and there's plenty of room in there. There's this is pretty egregious use of spacing in there. I mean, I know Nick likes. See, that's the kind of thing Nick would never want to add because Nick is doing the artistic design thing with this. But the rub is that sometimes you need the stuff on the screen so you know what you're doing. So it would be days late, right? Days late, right? So let's do that and then change it.
And we're going to put that as a number.
Okay.
Create.
Okay, but you then use the previous calculation if you want, or you can write your own. Yeah. So
we want this calculation.
Well, you might want to just look at it as a reference. I'd copy and steal it and move forward with that. Okay.
Okay, we're going to copy that, pop this guy over here, change this to a calculation, change, say OK.
Yeah.
And we're going to paste.
Yeah, Scott gets into an interesting spot in here. Scott's talking about something. Let's get this fixed. So if the status is, okay, back up. So if the date, yeah, see, this is kind of, there's multiple issues here with this, right? So the status, if someone, okay, so we're going to do two things here. So off of this, if the status equals paid, then the calculation should be, or if the status is active, go ahead and change this to active. I'm sorry, I'm going to change that to active. Then I'd remove this for now, and there's a reason I have for this, right? Go ahead and remove that, and then just do the basic math. So we need the invoice date minus the current date, right, or whatever it's going to be, or the current date minus the invoice date, right? So
current date.
Yeah, right.
Get current date.
Get current date. Yep. And
minus.
Yep.
Date invoice
date, and that'll give you days, right? Should be. Okay.
All right. Let's give it a try.
Okay, so that'll be helpful on that end, but then we're going to have to create a trigger here that's going to do something for us, right? So, yeah. Okay, great. So browse mode, right? So although you're gonna have to change the field definition, you don't have the field on the layout yet. So yeah.
So we're gonna say days late.
Yeah, let's call it late.
Call this.
Yeah, late. No, those are days. Those are days.
Oh, date.
Yeah.
It's Monday.
It is. I've had a really hard Monday already today. It's gonna be kind of wild. All right, browse mode. Let's take a look at that.
All right.
Oh, you're gonna have to teach you left-hand Command B, Command F. All right, so right now it's a 0, which is fine. It's active and it's not. So it's yeah. So that would be another one that you'd want to do. It's not. Yeah, that's another one. We'd have to adjust the if statement so it won't show anything, right? So, but let's go and change it to something else. So the invoice date was. Couldn't you go back to another record like one that we changed or something? Let's see. Where you the 11th or the previous whatever. Let's see. We know one where you invoiced last year or something. Oh, there's one. 731, right? So yeah.
But that math doesn't add up because.
Sure the hell does. Oh no, it doesn't.
What the same year?
Yeah, you've got a problem there. So get No, it's from today. It's from today. They're not comparing these two, right? It should be today's date,
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. That
today's
does.
date minus that date. So
Mhm,
that is probably
mhm.
correct. This person's a really bad customer. So let's do a quick fix right now. So let's click on this. Click on this, and let's do a script trigger on this. So let's say go to layout mode, Command L, Command and Control
Ooh,
L,
that's a
left
big stretch.
hand, and then let's put a trigger on this thing. And so we're gonna have to define that on object, probably on object exit would be my preference there. So an object exit, okay, and then we're gonna create a new script. And what we want to do is just say we're going to set the status to active and then commit the record. Set status, active, and commit. Probably be the way I'd handle this right and commit. That's fine. Good enough for government work. There we go. Almost. There we go.
There you go. And commit has two M's.
Yep. And then
Boom.
what you're going to do is you're just going to say you're going to set the field and do a commit. So set the status field to paid, right? So if they put a value in there, they mark it as paid. I mean, you could come up with different ways of doing this, but if they mark it as paid, they auto disconnect. So yeah, I'm not gonna. I'll address the Scott King Canberra Brad conversation here in a moment. Let's get this done. So there we go. So and then I don't know. You need a commit, Chiefy, on the end of that. There we go. Dialog off. Thank you. Okay, save and then test. Okay, save and test. Yep.
There it is.
All right, so go back to browse mode, Command B, Command and Control B, left hand. All right, cool. So what we're going to do, it's active, it's way due. Click into the date paid there. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I screwed that up. That's fine. Just click out. Do you want to see the bug? Just click out. Click out. Click all the way out. Okay, so yeah, so what you want to do is make sure that you go back to your script on that script.
That's at the bottom here.
Yep. So what we're going to do is we're going to say put an if statement on the beginning of this bad boy that if the date is date paid is not as empty. So not is empty. Not. No. Just type not. There you go. Not space is empty. Is nope. One word. There you go. All right. Then put the date paid in there. Right. So if it's full of something, then we will assume that it was paid. Once again, the logic on this is beyond screwed up, but in basic business is what people would do. Right. In reality, what people do in business, and some of you folks have done this, is that you get an invoice. I have customers who will give them an invoice, say for $1,800 or something, and they'll pay $621.37. We're like, how did you come up with that number, right? So we can't mark invoices paid. You have to actually have a payment against almost like the account, right? So that way this doesn't happen, right? Unless there's a value in there. So go ahead and try that again. Save and close. Just go ahead and create a new record. This one's bogus at this point.
Okay,
or go to one of the other ones. Yeah. So it's preliminary. So
just go to mark that active.
Can you do that? There it goes. Okay, so you got that. Great. And it's not late yet, which is kind of great. All right. So then you're going to click click in and then show it was paid today. Just put the date. Okay, that worked. Okay, great. Now do it again, but don't put any value in there. Now, see, once you've done that, to unwind that, you got to delete that. Go and delete it. Now go into status and fix status. Back to active, right? Now, what you can do is you can click in there if you want. It's not really a good test because potentially you run the risk of having something else influence it. Don't change it. Now click out. No value change. Click out. Because that script trigger fired, but it evaluated that you clicked in here, but you didn't change anything. Therefore, it's not going to change it. If there's a value in here, it's going to put paid in here. Once again, bad logic, but when you're a beginning business person, starting a business or something like that, or a very small company, this makes sense, right? The problem is that's why we built this payments thing over here. If you click on that, that's where you can log multiple payments against this, right? And then you could Once again, you have to kind of decide about this a little bit. So if all these, but not everyone uses this, right? So it's kind of like starting point. We're trying to get stuff laid out, but there are some things that we cannot lock into concrete, right? So the other thing is, and this kind of goes back to something that Nick does a little bit, it can be useful or it might not be useful, is to come up with basically a status that says, hey, it's late, right? Which is kind of where we wanted to go, right? Days late. Now the rub is that this, unless you're on, when does this update? So go back to field definitions, go back to field definition days late. I'm pretty sure this is another certification test question. Days late. It's not going to update under almost any circumstances because is it an unstored calc or is it a auto enter?
I believe it is a stored calc right
which
now.
Which is even worse, yeah. So go ahead and change that to do not store. Okay, that'll force it to redraw. Because what happens with this, for those of you who don't understand how this works, is that if you have it stored, okay, quit clicking. Okay, go back. You're going too fast, right? So what ends up happening here is that the date. See, this is based upon a get function. This calculation, if this is a calculation field and it is stored, okay, this calculation field is completely unaware that any get function has changed. It's unaware. It cannot be aware. It's a fundamental of FileMaker. It doesn't know it. So what you can do is that you say you make it unstored. So what does that do? It means that it only calculates when you need to see it on screen, right? Which is fine, great. So we set it to go that way. Is that what we're set as now? We're set do not store, only recalculate when needed. So when it needs to be on screen or needs to print, something like that, or it's part of a script somehow and the script needs that data. Hit OK, hit OK. The problem is now is that if you have 500 records or 1,000 records, it's not an issue. But if you have, say, 20, 30, 100,000 million records, then what ends up happening is that it was very slow to run a search on. Like if we did a Command F right now, said search for days late, go to Command F, search, put greater than 1 right in there.
Come on.
Greater than 1. There we go. Now this is going to be pretty quick, but it's would be very, very slow with millions of records. But for starting point light, that's fine, right? But as you start to get to more sophisticated levels of CRMs, that's not going to be acceptable. And so what you could do is have it run at night where this updates in the middle of the night, which is something you could do with PSOS or something, and have it run through maybe all the records that are, in play. I would say in play. Which once again, you have to get into terminology and stuff. But you run it in the middle of the night, so then it's up to date, right? The downside is, of course, is that you have to run it in the middle of the night. So you have to have invoices that are, if you click on this, and click on that list. So preliminary could be in play. Active is definitely in play. Paid is no longer in play, i.e. you're never going to pay attention to it. Void and cancel are not going to be paid attention either. So you basically have these preliminary and active kind of invoices that you have to kind of pay attention to. So at night, you'd want a found set of the ones that need updated information. You'd run a looping against all these records to update these calculations down here so they'd be fresh. So when you do a search, it'd be instantaneous, right? So it's kind of an interesting conversation. It's not the direction I thought it would go, but this is very, very relevant. And you've been able to explain, articulate, and understand all this. I know some of you have challenged with what I've just said because you're not familiar enough with these issues, right? Some of you are experts at this. You could present and teach on this, and I'm not picking on anyone. But it came to my very specific attention because we were talking about questions on the certification test. And they're going to ask you, when will a stored calculation update? You need to know that. When will an unstored calculation update? When will an auto enter update? Auto enters only update when a new record is created, or you make an edit to a dependency in that auto enter calculation, right? That's on the test at least 2 or 3 or 4 different times. So I just ran into that. So while we start to flesh this out, some of these rules in here we could probably adapt and put into starting point because they're kind of minimum kind of rules. How this interacts in here, a lot of times we would even put date pay. The problem is you start off in business going, hey, it's an invoice, pay this amount. And then you find out that people don't pay the correct amount, which is your first shock, right? And maybe you folks are some of the ones that do that. That's fine, but it drives the accounting people insane when you do that. Then what you do is you get into how do you handle this? Well, you really have payments that people make, right? And the payments that people make really are kind of against the contact or the business, right? They could be against this invoice, but what you're going to have is customers that underpay on one invoice, overpay on another invoice. So you have to have almost this running balance is what you end up having, okay? And so part of what we try to do with FM Starting Point is train on this nightmare right here, but also train on, it's part of understanding the business, understanding your business, and then teaching you enough about FileMaker so it can be effective for you and useful for you, right? And that's where I need the feedback. So I'm banging on the microphone here. So I have a similar concept that Ken, the balloon, runs every 5 minutes every day to update statuses and no issues, right? Yeah. So 12:05 a.m. Yeah, so you can do it that way. There's nothing wrong with that. And that kind of removes the calculations. In fact, I think that's something even like that might be on the test. I say, well, you could use PSOS to run an update in the middle of the night or something, right? I don't know if that was the correct answer or not on the certification test, but that's something that comes up. That's not a bad idea, okay? What you don't want to do is you don't want your PSOS script or SASE script. SASE would be the one scheduled at 12:05. You don't want it running for like an hour or two because you're asking to crash the server. It's just too much. So what you want to do is you want to probably limit your action to maybe a couple smaller scripts. Run one at 12:05 at night. Run one like I have that with our stuff. If I go into our system, you guys will enjoy this. I'm way off on the reservation. I don't even know if we're going to even get to the thing. Well, we have to get to the thing. We got time. So I go to I go to this right here. I guess I could just go back to, well, you're fine right now. Let me see. Let me go to starting point right here. Finished goods right here. This is interesting. You guys will love this. So this is probably going to have some secret stuff on it. So let me put it over here. So it has some other stuff on the right. You don't need to see. Probably some financial stuff. It's not really secret. It just tells you how we're doing in terms of selling training. I have a log over here. So if I go to maintenance layouts and I say general system log, okay, check this out. You folks will like this. So I have 1.9 million records that are logged. Let's just take a look at what happened last night. So this is really interesting. Cat, I swear to God. So go to the end. Here we go. So this is the end. So what happens is when we do automatic processes in, once again, we took starting point version 3 and made our finished goods system. So as we email you updates and email you newsletters and you buy stuff or whatever, that stuff happens in here. So every so many minutes, we run so someone bought something. I don't know who Sean is. Thank you for buying whatever you bought, Sean. Looks like he bought a bundle. Yay, at 126. It just happened. Wow. So our scripted process fires off, and what we received is a PayPal notification from PayPal. It's an instant PayPal notification, and it fires these scripts off. And all of this is attached to this one scenario right here. So if I click on this, it shows me a lot of times in my logs, I'll have more than one entry that's associated with completing some task. I don't write one entry. And so this one over here writes him putting one order in, highlighted, looks like 12 tasks or something like that, or 14 tasks. I don't know how many records this is, doesn't matter. Tells me what machine did it, the web publishing engine on the FileMaker server. If I look up under here, my little code, 1 is PSOS up here. 0 is my FileMaker Pro, the robot running or a copy of Pro, myself doing it. PSOS could do it, and then the customer publishing. Now what I want to do is these are all little things going on, people pressing buttons, running updates. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go backwards in time. So here was 9 a.m. this morning, 8 a.m. So right about in here, no one's around. So now it's on this is the overnight hours. The system's still running. 6 in the morning, some automatic calculations fire off. And then lo and behold, at 6 a.m., it's hourly maintenance cycle started. Okay, that's fine. 5:45. And this is the same thing of what you're talking about to run updates. But my updates are potentially so large and intrusive that we have them. All right, so here's a 2:30 a.m. sequence that runs. And so it's running the master sequence once a day. So this is my once a day thing. It starts at 2:30 and finishes at 2:31. So 56 seconds elapsed, and there's a differential time in here. That's not too bad. This one here takes these hourly. Well, that's something else. But I've seen it where these updates will run, and you're spending. It'll spend an hour or two running. Otherwise, I put all these at once. So I have a 2:31 that runs. Is there a 3? What is this? Hourly checks. There's also a weekend check, like a once a week check, and I do that. That one takes a long time, right? Because one of the things that we do, and this is interesting, once again, a lot of you will find this interesting. If I jump over here to context, I'm going to go to a contact record right here, okay? This is a fake record right here. This is my record. This is our internal system, right? We have what we call lead scoring, right? Maybe some of you remember talking about lead scoring. This is, if you're in big corporate business, big business, this is how, as a marketing person, you can justify your existence. Without lead scoring, you don't know what's working and what's not working for you. Now, in my case, I don't use it too much because my life is so busy just generating new training and stuff. But if my sales guy was paying attention, he will look at this sometimes. Like some of you get a call from Ryan. He says, hey, how would you like to buy 1 million copies of FileMaker? Like, no, Ryan, I already have a 5-pack. Thank you. I don't need 1 million copies, but I do love Richard. Call me back next year. Click, right? So that's your conversation with Ryan. Some of you are laughing. So what Ryan can do, though, is over here, I'm going to zoom in on this. We all see this? So right here, these are the points right here, and I need to kind of update this a little bit. These are the points that you may earn if you send a newsletter, right? And so if you get a newsletter, you do this. If you send this other email, you get a point. And these are cumulative points. And what it does is down at the bottom, it shows me the total points that you've accumulated ever, 466 points. This is a test record over the last year or so, whatever. And then the total action of all the action points you've done, and then it has a deprecating 90-day window. So the maximum points you have are 260, and if you have a point, if you've done something and it's been within like 30 days or something, you get the full value of freshness point, right? So if you earned a point over here, say you earned 10 points over here you did it last week, you get 10 points for freshness. The 10 points for freshness for that item will go to 0 after 90 days. It's on a little degrading straight linear line, right? And so you can say someone who has a really high score, but their freshness score is really low, which means lately, say like Ken, the Balloon Ken, right? We love Balloon Ken. Say Ken says, I fucking hate Richard Carlton. He's out of here. Screw Richard. I'm never going to see him again. Go away. I'm flying my balloon. Leave me alone. And so what it'd be like 500 points over here, something like that. It'd be a big score over here, right? I just adjusted that number. But the freshness score would be really low, right? Now, these numbers, notice I'm changing them. I could lock them out, but they update in the middle of the night because they're based upon hundreds of related records right here. And so it used to be that this thing would run, and it would grab all 76,000 people that we talked to. It would grab all 76 and would update them. And then we're like, it would take it like 12 hours or 24 hours to run this one process. And so you have this log entry in there, and if you clicked on it, it would show you the beginning ends of the log, and it would elapse for hours. And so we're like, well, then you got to get more selective. So now we're going to run different calculations at different times of the day, spread them out, run some on weekend. And when we want to update the freshness things over here, we come up with a way of updating. What we do is we track the records that have changed. That has been on the test before, but it's not currently on the certification test before. And that's where you track the modification count. So if I go over here, because I'm Richard Carlton, I have a subscription over here. This is great, right? No one's asking any questions. Subscription right here, I say I have a subscription, right? So that means that you paid for a year of service, right? And so I come over here. This is the awesome sauce right here. And I'm very visible because I have to have everyone understand this. So here's Richard Carlton. This is one of my test records. It's a test record. So modification counts for this subscription and the combined total of the related invoices, right? So what happened is that this subscription currently is the combined invoices have been edited 55 times. This subscription record has been edited 26 times. So 26 times the record was locked and committed. Claris, FileMaker, the product line keeps track of that. It's really anal about that, which is kind of nice. So then what happens is so if someone makes an edit, like you buy something or do something like that, right? Say I create a new invoice over there, right, for this thing. This number changes. So then that tells me that it requires an update. So this, the last time we did maintenance in the middle of the night, that number was the number. So it matches. It's all good. Makes sense. But if I go over here back to Richard and I create a new invoice, hang on, let me go out. So I'm going to create a new invoice. Maybe Ken starts offering site, nude sightseeing via balloon. So we could do that, right? So we could have a new SKU. We could talk questionable balloon, a balloon sightseeing sans clothing. How about that, right? And it's like a special price. It's going to be a bunch of money and this and that and the other thing. And right, so I'll say unit cost is $500, but he's going to mark it up because he wants to. I understand that. Right? So unit price $2,000, right? Minimum, right? So we set all this up, right? And then I say, hey, it's going to be active. So this is my system over here. We mark it as active. Now it's going, right? Now if I come back over here to contact, right? I come back over here, I have my subscription, right? And I click on this, if I run my update, it's going to, was that 55 or was that 56 before? Ken's going to be making the big bucks, yes. Well, actually, so, but the idea is that these numbers start to change. Combined invoices, it was 55 before, so it's 56. So then what I did is, as I did it manually, sometimes in the process, I will hit it right here. It does all the nighttime maintenance, but it does it right here for me in real time. So in the middle of the night, it checks for any ones that haven't gotten taken care of, right? It looks for any ones that haven't been processed. And it sees where the numbers are off, and it runs those in the middle of the night. So the goal was to find the records that had changed. And you're like, well, how can I find the records that have changed? Well, is this changed? Or is this changed? Or is this changed? Or this changed? That's a real. How about you just track the the number of commits? So once again, so is it good, bad, or otherwise it just is? And so a lot of you are advanced people. We talk about basics. But you get into updating calculation in the middle of the night, having the robot do them, but the robot, if you have millions of records, the robot can only do so much. You better have a way of minimizing the found set. So Michael, to bring this to conclusion, let's go back to your screen. Can you script for us, show us how you would do this? This is for all the basic people. Some of you are going to be bored by this. How would you script this? To a button that says, show me all the past due people. How would you do this? Very basic script.
So what I would do is I would go to the list view first, and then I would look for all of the dates, actually, since we have this new field, this day's late, we would look for all of basically what we did on that last search that we did. Look for the data in this field for anything that is under 0.
Above 0, bigger than 0, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, I was reverse on that one.
Well, do it. Build it. Just do it.
Go here, and we would say, go like that. Basically, I'll just keep. Well, we've already got this. This script is running somewhere else. We want to copy this and make a new script.
By the way, this is really hard to read on the thing. So tomorrow, if you could turn off nighttime or whatever mode, that would be great. Don't do it now, but in general, black sure. Coding with blue. The white's okay, but the black with the blue is hard to read. So.
Okay.
All right, so what do we got? So is this our script, or what are we doing here?
We're getting there. So we're going to search for past due invoices. Okay.
Okay.
And so this we can just delete. I guess we don't really
need that.
Okay, so we're going to say go to layout. The layout that we're looking for is going to be that list view. So select, or space, excuse me. And we're looking for the accounts list. I'm going to search for list and make this just a little bit bigger. And here is our, invoices list.
Invoices list, yeah, there we go.
There we go. Okay, and then we're going to say perform find.
Mm-hmm.
Specify, and I'm just going to make a new find here. So we don't want that, and we're going to say Days to pay, no, days late is correct, right? Yep. So is larger than 0.
Right.
Okay. Said okay. Hit okay. Save that script. Let's see how we did. So we'll just kind of make this a little smaller. Sorry. And we will test that.
Okay. And your found set is 17. I don't think that's probably correct.
That's correct either. This is actually I want to do something just a little bit different than that. I'm going to change my approach here. I'm going to take these guys. I'm just going to put a little field in here so we can do a different search. And basically, I'm going to take all this stuff over, move it here like so.
Yeah, you need to put that. Well, that brings up a really good question, right? And I don't know the answer to the question that's about to come up if someone asks it. So normally what I would do is I would be explicit. I would say enter find mode. I would say set the field value, right? This is testable. If you set a field, the field doesn't have to be on the layout, right? But he didn't do a set field command that I am aware of. I don't know, because you did this implied find request inside there. I don't know what that is. I honest to God don't know, because I don't use it that often. I don't know if that's more of an insert text or if that is a set field function. Does anyone else know what this is? Because you see what I'm saying over here? So if you come back over to your script over here, so normally you did a find restore, but you're setting data in here through this thing. So normally what I would do, because I don't know what this is going to do, I would kill that, or not kill it, but just turn off the enter find mode. You don't need all the other restore. You don't need to restore, so turn the restoration off. Okay. Then go ahead and do the pause off, then set the field. The set the field doesn't require that. So you're going to want to go to past due, right, or days late, not days to pay, but days late. Okay, that needs to be greater than 0, right? So now I know quote greater than 0 if it'll take that. Whoa,
that's a V.
That is not a greater than.
Greater than 0.
Okay, great. Try that.
Okay.
And then you want to perform the find.
Perform find.
Okay.
Nope. Can't type today.
You're under the pressure. I see the camera. See, that's what's happening. Right?
Oh my goodness.
Okay, you just need to stop, right? So perform find. There we go.
There you go.
Now I have a question. Well, I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to get off topic. But yeah, so right now I know that this should work. And this field may or may not be on the layout, but with a set field command, it won't matter, right? So let's go ahead and try that if you want.
Okay, I'm going to save that.
Save it, and
go ahead and
put. If you want to put that field back on there, or whatever. We need a field on there so we can see this thing. Days late. See if that works. Go to browse. Go to browse mode.
All right.
So
let's go over just a little bit.
Okay, there are quite a few of them. All right, so maybe that is correct then. All right, we haven't looked at all the data, right? Yeah, so.
And
run it.
Run that script.
It is 17, so it did run. It did run correctly, right? So it did run correctly. So what's interesting to see about this is that was an interesting edge case, right? It's like you sit here on live TV, if you don't practice everything word for word, then you run yourself into the corner and you wonder about stuff. But normally if you come back over here, now the reason I like go back to our script. The reason I like breaking this out is because if you look at the code or you print this script out or you see this code, you can look at this code and you know what the hell it's doing. It's find mode, it's looking for this, it's performing the find. If it's just buried in here, it says restored value, even when you print it, it doesn't really show it to you. It's a mystery. It's like mystery meat. It's like a kid when you have burritos at lunch. You don't know if you got horse in there or kangaroo or wallaby. I mean, there's been all sorts of stories about not being chicken or beef or whatever. I've had shark, I've had alligator that tasted like chicken, suspiciously enough, as it was. But yeah, I prefer it that way. But that is a test question in the set field. Now, if you did an insert in here, like insert text, insert calculation. Insert command is like kind of like a paste command. That their target has to be on the layout and kind of an eligible form to get that. I know this is kind of basic for a lot of you, but it's kind of like basic training, right? Fundamentals and understanding the fundamentals of the FileMaker platform. There's a lot of moving pieces here with this. Part of the pieces are understanding your business process, and everyone has a slightly different business process. All right, well, that's it for today. Tomorrow, what are we doing tomorrow? I don't know. Is there even a tomorrow? And if there was, would we even care? Right? Let me see. So let me get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Press the upcoming.
I think people are going to like what we have tomorrow.
Or let's see. Nick tomorrow is X4. So once again, understand that Nick is building some really warp drive, right? For those of you, like Larry came to me the other day, and he's not here. He's like, "Can someone explain to me how Nick did this?" I'm like, "Larry, I can't. I'm trying to explain to you how auto enters work for the certification test. I'm not going to explain to you what Nick did, right? It's like, it's like warp drive. It's like literally, it's like a lot. So yeah, I don't even build to that. So I'm Nick's boss, and I don't even I just do we need it that sophisticated? I like it to look nice. But if my head explodes and I want to quit my job, then the day is a failure. So I try not to make it so crazy that my head explodes. Now, for some things, Nick's answer is the way, especially if you're building a product that has vertical market applications where you want to resell the product. Yeah, probably you want some Nick action in there, definitely. All right, well, that's it for today, folks. I greatly appreciate you folks are all awesome. Tomorrow's starting point, and then we'll also be working on the new starting point, and then coming up, then are we back on Wednesday a little bit, Michael? Oh, 2 days of recurring invoices. This is going to be a little more fun because we're going to create basically a schedule. We're going to create a schedule to auto-create invoices. A little bit more sophisticated. Right, Michael? Yes?
Yes, sir.
I want you to mentally prepare yourself. You need to have some yoga or yoga time, either way. So we'll start with the Y. Sit there and think about what you're going to do. Okay, so we're ready to go. All right, everyone, I appreciate it. We'll catch you tomorrow with Starting Point 2022 Release 4. Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir.